Everyone's been talking about my time at Evershine lately, but to really understand what's going on and why fans are starting to worry, we need to dig a little bit deeper. I'm Sylvie, I deep dive into games like Evershine, so if that's your thing, hit subscribe to make sure my small channel doesn't disappear from your front page. Now, let's talk about how Pathea Games turned a small Kickstarter project into a massive series, and why updates have slowed to a halt after their crowdfunding campaign ended. Pathea Games was founded in 2010 with the aim to create games using new technology, ideas, and input from their community. This focus on user feedback is important for you to remember throughout this whole video, so keep it in mind. The team originally found success by crowdfunding on Kickstarter, they released their first game, Planet Explorers, in 2016, and began working on what would become the first installment of their most successful series to date, My Time at Portia, marketed as an adventure inspired by Animal Crossing, Dark Cloud 2, Harvest Moon, and the works of Miyazaki. This game was a huge success. Pathea managed to raise just under 145k with the support of 3,700 backers, and the players loved the RPG life sim with building and farming and such compelling characters and lore that when a sequel was announced, fans showed up again. Sandrock raised $524,000 from close to 10,000 backers, a massive leap from Portia, but that was nothing compared to Evershine's Kickstarter. 2.9 million from nearly 34,000 backers, and it was clear the new game's support was much more than Pathea or even the fans could have imagined. Their initial goal of 200k was met within 35 minutes of launch, and the devs had to scramble to keep adding stretch goals as incentive for people to keep backing. They promised flirting, bathtubs, swimming, hot tubs, pets, pajamas, characters from previous games, more customization, more core romance characters. There was so many features promised alongside the new art style and gameplay loop, which meant a lot of things were added that needed time to be created. And throughout the campaign, we were getting updates and sneak peeks and lore drops, which made everything so hype. You just had to be there to feel the excitement we felt as a community. Fast forward to the end of 2024, a few more Kickstarter updates trickled out, but then silence. We stopped hearing from the devs other than what the Discord community called crumbs, and the community was starving, especially when spring 2025 came and went with no alpha test for Kickstarter backers as previously stated. You see, backers of a certain tier and above purchased keys to try out Evershine's Alpha to find anything buggy and experiment with the core gameplay loop. But spring turned into summer, and summer is turning into autumn, and the community has been left questioning where the alpha is. In July, a request for an update was made in the Discord server, and a number of people expressed their frustration with the lack of communication. A Discord announcement was made a day later, essentially saying some big changes have been made, development was moving forward, and the alpha was still being worked on. But the team weren't ready to give a specific date just yet. It was pointed out by a few community members that the Kickstarter hadn't received the same information, and unless backers were lurking in the Discord and knew where to look, they couldn't know what was going on. Monthly updates were requested, some kind of PR or community management team was suggested, and eventually an official Kickstarter update was posted at the end of the month. According to Update 57, the devs were working on the core experience and didn't want to share small details that might change. They'd seen our concerns and were working to address them, and they shared a couple of images from the Discord as a sneak peek for backers. Questions died down for a little while, but within a few weeks, more people were weighing in on the situation. Patience was wearing thin, people continued speculating on what was holding development up, and the Discord mods did a fantastic job of keeping conversations productive, sharing their knowledge and thoughts, and making sure Pathea knew that they needed to check the thread. The very next day, Yang, who has kind of taken on the role of spokesperson for the devs, joined the chat. He thanked everyone for their thoughts, acknowledged the wait and frustrations, and explained that some big pieces needed to be locked in before they can share more details. He assured everyone that the alpha is their top priority and that updates and messages from the team would be better if they had something to show alongside them. This received mixed feedback, and Yang responded again the very next day, sharing some examples on why the alpha was taking longer than originally planned. The more mature and realistic art style meant that exaggerated animations and expressions from the previous game didn't fit the vibe properly. So a lot of time is being spent on keeping the personality of characters whilst keeping things looking natural. The job of Governor is also taking a lot of time to balance, because we're moving to an unbuilt city, which means new types of quests, pacing, map structure, a core gameplay loop that needs a lot of time to polish. We were assured that this information would be shared in an official announcement, and we finally got that update via Discord and Kickstarter on September 8th. In the post, the alpha build delay was addressed and reasons for it were explained a bit more thoroughly. The goal of Evershine as a whole was to give us, the players, an experience of personal growth roleplay, as well as the strategy involved in team and city planning. Stats like money, health, comfort, and hunger would propel players to reach milestones for settlement development, and these stats would be used by the story to create problems for the players to solve. But these aims didn't go to plan, and they believed that their original alpha build was unsatisfactory. The two styles were in constant conflict. The RPG part would send the player out into the field, but the strategy part wanted to keep the player in the base. The RPG part wanted the player to do things in linear fashion, while the strategy part wanted the player to have more freedom. This meant there were times when the story wanted players to do something that the strategy part didn't really need, and while testing, the devs were struggling with keeping track of all the colony needs whilst out and about, which sounds like it had an endless stream of on-screen pop-ups to alert players when someone was hungry for the 6th time. So there was a decision that needed to be made. Continue with the build as it was and hope they could fix problems as they popped up, or take the time to tweak the main gameplay loop until they were satisfied. And of course, they went for the second option. They didn't want to change the whole game completely and revert to being a builder instead of a governor, because they wanted something new for Evershine, and so they spent 10 months trying to get the right balance, which brings us to today. The devs are getting close to what they want the core gameplay loop to be, with simplified strategy parts and more emphasis on open world exploration and RPG. This change means the story has also been tweaked, and some characters have become even more or even less important to the story. Challenges facing the settlement are also even more challenging, and the twists, well, we'll just have to wait and see. Despite setbacks, development is still ongoing. The system, stories, and art assets have been progressing at a steady pace, and Pathea are doing their best to give us the alpha soon. So, what's next? Well, after 3 iterations of this video script, we finally know 3 things. 1, the devs have been conducting 1 to 2 more internal pre-alpha tests to get it ready for backers to try out, but they haven't made their timeline public, so we don't get our hopes up for no good reason. 2, the alpha will focus on testing out the core gameplay loop with a lighter story, so we don't spoil ourselves before the full release. And 3, Yang posted a few crumbs in the Discord yesterday, hinting at a very big announcement coming soon. And apparently, it's exactly what you're thinking it is. For non-backers who are just looking for a release date, we unfortunately don't have one yet, but the goal has always been spring 2026, so fingers crossed that's when we'll get it. But what do you think? Are you happy with how Pathea has handled things, or do you want more concrete information? Drop your thoughts in the comments, you know I love reading and replying to them. And if you want to stay in the loop on Evershine's development, remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I'll see you in the next one.